Well, hello and welcome back to That's Not Right Thursday, talking about the world of work. Yeah, so what we're going to talk about now, we're going to listen. I'm going to keep a little quiet and I'm going to listen because I really feel like he put this much better, even though he was just now quoting Dorothy Sayers as I quoted in my original video on Let's Talk About It Tuesday. Well, she said that in her essay that work should be a gracious, let's see, expression of creative energy, I think. Let's listen to Tim Keller say it.
First of all, two things. You have to see that your work, first of all, is an expression of the energy of the Creator. God is creative. You know, it says here, interestingly enough, in verse 11, make it your ambition to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business and work with your hands, just as we told you. Now, why in the world does Paul say work with your hands? Every commentator recognizes that this was a smack right in the face of the dominant culture. Because the dominant culture, the Greeks and the Romans, believed that that by and large work was degrading, but some kinds of work were less degrading than others. I even put a quote in the very front of the reflection by Cicero. Cicero says, if you get paid for manual labor, hard toil, that's sordid, that's degrading. He even points out that retail is degrading and sordid. No. The way the Greeks understood it is if you got into the world of thought, if you got into the world of the mind, if you got into the world of the arts, well, at least then you weren't doing anything too physical, and that kind of work wasn't as degrading. Paul goes out of his way to say, work with your hands. He's really saying to the Christians, just because you've lived in a culture that thinks that work is degrading and physical and manual labor is the most degrading, he says, I don't want you to be shaped by the culture. Paul is saying something and the Bible says something no other religion says. William Temple put it this way in his very interesting book, Christianity and the Social Order. He was the Archbishop of Canterbury, I think, and when he wrote this, he said, look at the Bible. Creation, consummation, incarnation, resurrection. What do they all have in common? God with his hands in the dirt. Creation, the Greeks, Eastern religions all say, oh no, God isn't physical. In creation, God's his hands in the dirt, creating. At consummation, God is cleaning up after the great battle and building a city. In the incarnation, God becomes physical. In the resurrection, he redeems the physical. And so what Paul is saying is, we have in God not what the Greeks think. The Greeks thought of God as someone who didn't really create matter. If there was a divine realm, you got to it by kind of getting away from matter. If you got to the divine realm, you got it from being away from work.
And that's not right. Right? Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that was some good stuff. Thank you for hanging in there and listening with me today. So I just thought that was such a great point that he made on the leading a quiet life part and working with your hands. That's otherwise a little bit like not. I wouldn't know what to do with that as much. I mean, I know that what being quiet is, and I know what working with your hands is, but like why God would, and I know that Jesus was a carpenter, but why he would make it such a point, to do that in particular or to bring that out and make it positive, right? So now I understand that better. And I also want to go, there's another part where he goes back to the beginning of the chapter 4 and reads that because he said it's not in that text that he was focusing on, but it shows that working is pleasing to God, right? And that if you're not, basically, yes, let me just go there because then he said that some other things followed before he got to the work, but he was